Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Welcome to Tell the Damn Story. I'm Chris Ryan. He's Alex Simmons. He's the legend. I'm the hanger-on. And we are here to talk about writing and art and creativity and how people we know have been doing it so it's easier for you to do it. We try and reflect our journey to make your journey easier. And ladies and gentlemen, today is your lucky day because we have some fantastic creatives that are going to talk to you about their new project and how to do what you do when you need to do it, because they are, we got to talk about this. This is fantastic. Alex, we got to just get to it. Let's introduce them and get to the episode.
Yes, so we're going to start with the person I know the longest of the two, and that is Mr. N. Stephen Harris. And the crowd
Artist extraordinaire.
How you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Okay.
Cool. And now Alex N. Stephen Harris, or Stephen, has been a DC Marvel and Image illustrator for over 30 years. Brooklyn native, and he's won several awards for his work in comic books and illustration. So that's one reason to stay for every second of the show.
Yeah, well, I'm not a Brooklyn native. Don't put that on me. I want the real one.
I'm sorry. The information I have is incorrect. Where are you from?
I was raised in New Jersey.
That's all right. I like New Jersey.
That's cool. That's cool. Then I moved to Harlem. I've been in Brooklyn since 1998 when my daughter was born.
That's a good reason to go to Brooklyn.
Yeah, Jersey transferred.
My daughter's being born there. I gotta go.
That's all right. Excellent. And how old's your daughter now?
She's 27.
So you've been there for a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. All right.
I'm going to jump in because we got this other gentleman who's sitting there going.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the other part of the show.
Yes. What's his name, Chris?
Ry-El Nagasta. He is a creator and writer. He's an Afro-Indigenous writer and a sound and energy healing practitioner. His comic was nominated for 3 Glyph Awards, and he is a finalist at the Afro Comic Con Film Festival. Ry-El, welcome to the show. Stephen, welcome to the show. We are here, as exciting as you both are. We are here to talk about your current project, which is even more exciting. It's hard to believe that something could be more exciting than N. Stephen Harris and Ry-El together. But the Indigo Clan is one of the most mind-blowing things I've read in a long time. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what they're doing to raise funds for it. We're going to talk about that amazing hoodie. We're going to talk about process. Ladies and gentlemen, don't miss a minute. There's chock full of stuff here.
Yeah, don't go make
Alex,
a sandwich.
how are we going to begin?
Well, we're going to start with how did they begin? Stephen, a moment ago, Chris did a little quick write-up, or I should not write-up, I'm sorry, a little quick bio on your history and so forth. So one, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you've been doing it? Because we didn't actually say what it is you do. Did. Yes.
Yeah, I am a comic book artist and sometimes storyboard artist. I've worked for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse. I was published once, twice by Image. I've been doing this for 34 years. I've done titles such as I co-created a character called Aztec for DC Comics. I worked with Motown, doing a book called The Crush, which was published by Image. I worked on a book called Watson Holmes, which was nominated for 2 Eisner Awards. I did some Batman stuff, Deadpool. I did some Deadpool stuff, which was the Deadpool story I did was the template for the first Deadpool movie. So
there you go.
Excellent. That was nice. Yeah, it was the annual 98, and like 16 years later, it becomes a movie. So it's not bad. And a few other things I've done. I co-created and created some properties, one of which has won a couple of Glyph Awards, which is Jala by me and the late great Robert Garrett.
There you go.
And so I've done stuff, recent stuff from DC Comics, like I've done Michael Cray for DC Wildstorm. and a couple of layouts projects for graphic novels, which is a static graphic novel. And currently I'm doing a project with DC right now. I don't know if I can mention that right now or not, but doing that right now.
That's all right. We'll just bring you back
tuned.
another episode so you can talk about all that stuff when you can talk about all that stuff. Ry-El, tell us a bit about you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so like a lot of your viewers, I hear, I at one point was an aspiring comic book writer and had all these ideas and concepts that were lingered in my head for years, built up and built up, and I knew it needed to be a story. What it took was, for me, was some energy healing sessions. So I went to these energy healing sessions, more like energy therapy, as a way to understand it, to clear blockages, and we did some past life stuff and some ancestral clearing and realigning with my purpose. And through these sessions I got that empowerment, that motivation, inspiration, and discipline to finally write the book. And then I'd learned the system of energy healing that I was receiving, and so now I'm a practitioner of this energy healing. And I've been a musician for most of my life, and currently that manifests as sound healing. I have a eclectic collection of instruments. Me and my wife, we do live performances helping people to go deep into meditation, relaxation, and the sounds also have healing vibrational aspects to them.
Ry-El,
go ahead, Chris.
Check out some of your healing music through a YouTube page, right?
Yeah, that's right. Auspicious Acoustics, AUSPICIOUS, for those of us that haven't heard Auspicious before.
Yeah, we'll throw that one up on the screen towards the end of the show.
Yeah, Auspicious Acoustics on YouTube, and we have a series of meditation music that we've released some, and we're keeping it going.
I'm going to jump back just quickly because, again, process. Everything is process. I know how Stephen got into this business many moons ago. But you mentioned that
as many as you.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, again, first rock. But you mentioned that you've been a musician most of your life. Before the healing and all, what instrument drew you into it, or what about the music pulled you into it, and how did you sort of move forward from there? I just want a little of that. Yeah.
Pulled me into music or pulled me into comic books?
Music. Yeah.
Yeah, for me as a teenager, a young teenager, I was pulled into punk rock.
Okay.
The energy, the rebellion, you don't need to know how to play the instrument. So I was like, okay, great.
Posing and striking. Yes.
So it was very energizing for me. And then there was a whole culture around it that helped also guide me in my life. And that culture is also inspiration because, it got me into activism and wanting to make a difference. And so that's, a foundation for the Indigo Clan, is wanting to not just be a comic book, but something that can help people and that can make a difference in the world. And then as I grew older and I chilled out, I started listening to more variety of music, naturally got into hip hop, and then opened my mind and, started appreciating all the instruments. And then as I got older, I got more chill to the point where now I'm like ultimate chill with the sound healing.
Now you're listening to Benny Goodman. Okay, I got it.
So, Alex, one of the things that's amazing about what has happened so far in this episode is that all of it, everything that Stephen has said, and everything that Ry-El had said, all of it leads to Indigo Clan. All of it influences Indigo Clan, and all of it contributed to my brain getting absolutely exploded when I was reading the first couple of issues. I have to just compliment you, gentlemen. It's really rare where creatives succeed in putting so much of themselves into a project that still comes out organically, and both the writing and the visuals organically, continuously exciting. And yes, there's so many paths and so many things that are just added into
layers,
almost every page and layered. There's spirituality, there's mythology, there's culture, there's just so many things mixed together, and it's just a real tribute to your talents that both of you pulled this off so well. If any of you were intrigued by either of the introductions, you got to see how it's manifesting in this book.
Yeah,
Congratulations, great.
And the link will be up to the Kickstarter, which we will talk about, but the link's going to be up on that as well
Yeah,
in the
man,
episode.
sometimes I can work wonders when I'm not on a Marvel DC deadline.
Well, let's get to the making of. Where did it begin? Where did the concept come from, or when did it first leap from the mind onto a page, written or otherwise?
Yeah. So when I was 5 years old, no, I'm just kidding. Really though, when I was a young child, I was watching on the TV, they had the 10 Commandments or something, you know, and as a young child, I was seeing it and I was like asking my dad, who's a white man, and I was like, hey, Dad, why are all these Egyptians white people? And he said, well, when they made this movie, they didn't want to show like kings and pharaohs and all these things as black people. And that was my first really experience of recognizing like, oh yeah, like where this concept of representation that we can speak of more clearly in these days and times. But as I was growing up, even though I was loving all these comic books, inspired by X-Men cartoons and all these types of things, I was always impacted by the lack of representation. Because being a person of mixed heritage and just recognizing that was a huge inspiration for me. And then getting older, studying all these different spiritual systems, metaphysics, shamanism, on all these things, and coming across these concepts of archetypes, archangels, pantheons, and in my spiritual quest, making the connection between, oh, there's connections here between all of these different religions and spiritual systems and archetypes, and just really diving deep into these concepts of archetypes and how can I embody that concept for myself and use that in my own spiritual path to embody the different archetypes. And this turned into different characters in my head, and then those characters started to form their own lives and wanting to represent spirituality and spiritual concepts, metaphysics, in a way that I wasn't seeing represented in media. A lot of time, and especially like in movies, if we talk about spirituality, it's usually a horror movie, you know. Yeah, and there's other ways in my own experiences I was experiencing the non-physical realms that weren't terror, you know, they weren't terrifying, they were empowering, and they were powerful. And so all those things are led me to write the Indigo Clan.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Who came to who with the project? How did the two of you get together?
Destiny.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Destiny doesn't need to be explained, does it?
Yeah. Well, I recently revealed to Steven that I actually met him in person at Afro Comic Con 2017, where I debuted chapter 1 of the comic, which was done by a different artist. And that artist was vending there with me, Afropunk. Afropunk.
Was that Anthony?
Anthony Angelero, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he was with me vending there at Afropunk in Brooklyn, I think it was. And he's like, oh, hey, and Stephen Harris, like, hey, come check out this comic book. Like, oh, yeah, this guy, he's a great artist. And so we actually met, and Stephen was like, yeah, cool. All right, guys, see you. Like, you know.
Oh, Stephen.
Oh, you was engaging in that.
Oh, Steve, we got to talk.
Hey, there's a lot going on. It was Afropunk. There's music, you know, there's people out there. Man. So, and then a few years later, when I was looking, maybe just a year or two later, I was looking for an artist to do chapter 2. It must have been a year because we released it a year later. So I was looking for artists for chapter 2. I was going through a lot of different people, not finding somebody that really resonated with me. And then I saw, and Stephen Harris made a post on Instagram that he's open for commissions. And so the rest is history.
And did you remember him, Stephen, when you?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I did not remember that interaction.
Wow,
I don't remember seeing Anthony that day. I do remember going to Afropunk. That might have been my third Afropunk at that time going to. But yeah, sorry about that, man.
Well,
I hate that happened.
well,
The
everything in its
takeaway is-
time.
I
Right,
thought we'd be
the
more
take-
engaged than that.
Well, you
The
know,
takeaway
there's
for our audience, though, is that the memory might not be there, but going to these kind of events can lead to future projects, future creativity, and all that.
Absolutely.
You
Or
know,
just
Absolutely.
connections.
I'm spinning, Steve. I'm doing that positive spin over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So, I've seen a lot of Stephen, I've seen a lot of your work for DC and Marvel and that stuff through the years. There's a much more fluid feel to this project, you know, and rightfully so, because there is so much spirituality and astral projection and all of that. Which I think the only time you really see that is, you know, Doctor Strange or maybe a little bit of Phantom Stranger in the old days or something. Was it a conscious choice of yours to change styles, or do you think it's attributable to something else? Because occasionally in the action sequences, I'll see more of the roots that I know you from.
Yeah.
But then there's also, I mean, it's such a wide range of visual demands, this particular project. So can you talk a little bit about that and what you chose and what, you know?
All I can say is that I had lately, when I say lately, from 2019 to now, I've had projects with more liberal deadlines, so I could spend more time on the project. If you notice the difference between that and, say, Michael Cray, is two things. There's a deadline on that, where I'm doing 5 pages a week.
Right.
And there's an inker. On this, there's no inker. All the inker is me. I'm just darkening my pencils and adding blacks to the pages, and cleaning and doing my own cleanup on the pages. And that's all I can really say. I mean, I like to think I grow as an artist each year, each couple of years, or whenever, or as time goes by. But those are the only two things I can mention, and I mean, I can think of. And plus, you know, sometimes the colors just can like really, bring a whole different look to your work. And Walt really brings those colors to the table.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is a very
that.
colorful book. Yeah,
and he brings the colors, the tones, the tonal value, the effects,
the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some projects today that I did with the different colors. It was like up between, you know, night and day between what that person brought to it compared to what Walt can bring.
I was looking at when I was looking at this, it made me think of, and not because they look alike, but there was something that you'll appreciate this, Ry-El. There was something about the vibe or the rhythm of this project and the Watson and Holmes. There's something about that I felt like, okay, it felt like Stephen had come home. You know, it was interesting because I remember feeling, you know, I've seen a lot of your work too, just as Chris has stated. And there are times absolutely where, yeah, the deadline is, and you got to get it moving. You got to make, and you're also right, and I'm sure some of our listeners will know this, that whoever inks your work, whoever colors your work, how the book is published, all of those things factor that final impression, that final visual impression.
Yeah.
This book has weight to it. There's a solid form to it. There's a sense of a world there, an atmosphere that you do have to move through, almost sometimes as if you spend a little too much time with the peyote. But the other end of that is also Watson and Holmes, the way that was written, and some of the setups, the way you used your camera, the angles that you use. I felt like, yeah, I know that street. I see people standing casually like that. That's somebody just sitting in a chair. Boom, they're really in that chair. So I think what's happened here is the reality that you bring to your artwork anyway. You know, he's not for folks who don't know Stephen's work, get over yourself. No, Stephen doesn't just do atypical comic book figures. His people are people. And so there's that touch of extra reality to begin with. And then when you add on the layers of storytelling and the mythology and all of that Ry-El has brought in, and then the color and the weight, and you even said that you did the inking yourself, so obviously that's a factor too. Suddenly this world feels even more tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I step into it, I'm there. Oh, snap.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I take the comics and the art seriously. I'm not just a mercenary. I don't want to just get the work done.
Right.
I want to. I like to think of myself as an artist. And
Sure.
I like to combine the right brain with the left brain in this medium. As far as the left brain, the logic, meaning have it make sense to the reader, make it logical, and then merge into the right brain with the relatability to what you see from Harlem, to what, and then with that's what Watson Holmes, and then I always wanted to do a cultural book with that features us as a central piece or a part of the central piece. And Ry-El has it with Horatio, with the Afro-Brazilian, and I'm digging that. I'm not that I've ever been to Brazil, but I'm digging the different cultural representations in the book, whether it is African based, Asian based, or Native American based. I'm really feeling that, and so, and we've come to, and the characters have come together to fight, come together to fight an evil. Whether it's Watson Holmes, whether it's working with the late great L.A. Banks on her Vampire Hunter stories. I wish I could have got more time working with her characters, even though there's a lot more characters than what Ry-El has, and Ry-El has a lot of characters. But it was, like you said, it was. I like how you put it. It was a coming home type of thing. Whether it's Watson Holmes, whether it's L.A. Banks, whether it's Indigo Clan, drawing these characters and have them do cool shit and take names and kick ass.
Let's talk about
put it out there. Right?
Let's talk about some of the ways that both of you kick ass with this story. First, I want to just very quickly go over. There is an aspect of this story that's thriller. We go to different countries, and one of the things that it was grounding for me, because you're also very spiritual and metaphysical, and we'll talk about all that, but there was no wasting. You didn't waste a panel or a line on the actual travel. The transitions were very quick, that, we had to go there, and then how we're going to get there, and then you're there, and it was an economy of storytelling that is hard to pull off without indication boxes that let you know the new, and instead you did it through character dialogue and scenery and the different field. There was also an escalating amount of spirituality in concept and in practice, mythology, metaphysics, it just kind of layered and layered and layered, and the story became richer in that, to the point where there are so many concepts that it's going to rereading and multiple readings are going to be rewarding experiences. And everything that was thrown into the story, Stephen, you just evolved the visuals to embrace that and add to that, to the point where I don't want to give away, but there is one of the best chase scenes I have ever experienced. That is both, it's the kind of blending of the real world and not real world, the concrete world, I guess you could say, the dirt and the blacktop and all that stuff, and the spiritual mixing, and the tension, the speed, the danger didn't suffer. The metaphysics, the spirituality added to it rather than detracting from it. That's a lot to accomplish.
Listen, I try to go hard.
Well, success. but how much of that was on the page? How much of that was negotiated? Once, yeah, listen, I see what you're doing. How about if we do this, that? How much should we do there? How did that work out?
I
Because there's
think
a
with
lot of
that,
people who want to be able to do. They're going to pick up Indigo Clan and say, "I want to be able to do that." So that's why we're asking.
yeah, I think Ry-El just let me rock with that. He provides some reference. I get other reference from online. So I guess when I look back at it, it seemed like I was channeling the second Matrix movie on the highway.
Okay,
But
that's another great layer.
yeah, I don't think I was thinking about it at the time, but I had motorcycles, I had cars, and I had dragons to work with, spiritual dragons to
Right.
work with.
Spiritual dragons. Yeah.
Yeah,
More shields. There was so much.
Yeah, yeah. So it was more or less just dealing with the pressure of coming up with something cool and dynamic to work with, or to come up with, or to manifest on the page.
I think it's also very cinematic.
Very
You
soon.
know, it's very cinematic. The visual way the story is told. You do have, as Chris was saying, the transitions are quick, but it's fluid. It's
Yes.
Hmm.
fluid, and you're moving in a fluidity that I think also is influenced by the metaphysical aspects of the story. And the visual, like for instance, there's a tattooing scene, there's the lushness of the forest, and there's all of these things that make you feel like, okay, I'm there. Wow, let me look at this, let me look at that, let me no, and then you're shifting. Okay, so I'm shifting it. You never resist going with the story.
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah,
there's definitely stuff you want to come back and revisit, right? Like the one guy
exactly.
with the 13 tattoo, the other person who has some other they're very precise, and I feel like there's a layer of storytelling on the what's on people's body, how they are representing themselves. There's so many cultures in here. It's so rich.
And
You feel like you want to go back, and the great thing with comic books is you can pause it on
yeah,
any panel
yeah.
and study, you know?
Yeah,
But
and shout out to
let
Ry-El for bringing those cultures in on the page and providing the reference for the backgrounds for the different locations. I look up some stuff too to help it out, but he gives me a lot to look at to make the settings more authentic and more real.
Okay, so now I'm gonna jump in here again. I'm gonna do the water buffalo thing here. I said there was the settings that were very impactful. I think the characters are very memorable and eye-catching, everything. So let's just again how stories are told, because I do this with my screenwriting students. We're meeting certain characters, and you had to build those characters. Ry-El, as a writer, had to know those characters. So before I go back to settings, let me just stick with the characters for a moment. How long did you live with these characters? When did they become full to you, or are they still evolving in your creative experience?
Yeah, I mean, another thing is Indigo Clan's experience is influenced by real life. I had I had and still have a really eclectic group of friends. And when I was writing the Indigo Clan, I was meeting these, powerful, like I call it what we're doing, indigos, like people who had clairvoyance or they could astral project or they had these other just really special abilities that's kind of like a little bit out there for folks that aren't familiar with human potential and these types of things. And so even, like Yamaya, the Mexican character, she's based off of a actual friend person. Like
Mm.
I was writing and I was with my friend. I was like, what would you say in this scene? And they told me, I was like, okay. And I kind of took that. And other characters, are kind of more from the imagination or based off of places I've been, I traveled a lot. When I was writing chapter 2, I went to Cuba and Jamaica because I needed to go there to really see
Mm.
how the settings were going to be. And some of the pictures that I gave Stephen were pictures that I took of people that I met. So like in chapter 2, they consult a Babalao, a Santeria priest, and that's like somebody I actually met. He was wearing that. So
Wow.
yeah.
He did have a look that seemed very authentic.
Right. And so, you know, and I know in writing fiction, there's this taboo that the writer puts themselves into the comic book, right? And so I wanted to do that in the most obscure way possible. So I divided who I am up into all these different characters and put little parts of my personality into each one of them, and then had their own personalities grow out of that.
Well,
I'm just gonna jump on that.
we all write
Yeah,
about ourselves.
yeah, right. I was gonna say some people may think of it as a taboo, but I think it's organic. I think we do pull from ourselves as well as from other sources when we're creating
Ry-El
characters.
disagreed and left.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm assuming he's going to do something that'll be
But
wonderful when he
but
comes back.
Steve,
We'll
I
be back
think you
after
would
a word from
agree
our
that you
sponsor.
put a lot of yourself and your world into your work as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was accused of drawing myself all the time in the books. I try not to. I try to bring a characteristic to each character I draw, a
Sure.
likeness, a real world likeness to the characters. I try to do that. So yeah. As far as stuff I write, it hasn't been a lot, but that's a work in progress.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I was just going to say that again, we have to start somewhere, and we can start from our own experiences, our own take on things, as well as pulling from other people. But really, it's as Chris is fond of saying, in the rewrites, it's where you begin to adjust or nuance or fine tune the voices and mannerisms of the others,
Yeah.
so that they become very much their own people.
Right. I believe that's when the story starts telling itself, you know, just like in the artwork, you know, you're doing stuff and then there's some details that are starting to come out because the story is feeding it, as opposed to you having to, all right, I'm making all these conscious choices. At a certain point, the flow begins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Agree
there's
or
a certain surrender with writing the Indigo Clan, where it's like, okay, there's certain things I wanted to have happen, but also certain directions that it had to unfold in that direction as I was writing it. So like almost
Yeah.
like a channeling of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, do you have a similar experience, like when the flow's going and choices are becoming almost subconscious?
Well, it just becomes I get looser with the pencil, and it just okay. What happens sometimes I'll be if I'm late, if I'm drawing all day, and maybe I'm really in the flow of it. I feel I can go longer, but I say no. I may get anxious and wired, and that's probably when it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, I understand that.
So you got more control than I do, because I wear myself out sometimes. I get into that flow, and I
Yeah,
don't
the flow
want to
is
stop. It's like
yeah,
I'm mainlining something.
yeah. It's probably that's probably when the flow has reached this end, and I just need to just like it's like I'm getting amped up and like this that, and then I gotta try and just like tap it down, go to bed, and try
Mm.
to tap into it or continue it in the next day. But usually it comes about if I start in the early afternoon or late morning, it'll probably come about in the mid afternoon, late afternoon, whether I'm getting really into it. Sometimes it'll carry on to the next day if I'm really tapped in.
Right.
But sometimes it's an effort when I start off the day and just try to get into it. But and
Mm.
it's harder now with all the distractions in this world.
Sure. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how you're paying for all this in a second. But last question on this process, I probably have a follow-up with Ryan.
Oh, there'll be other questions, but
Yeah,
yes.
there's always tricks to get going the second day, the third day, right? Writers, one of the early tricks they teach you is finish your scene and begin the next scene, or get to a point where you know where the scene is going and end it in the middle of a sentence, further enough into the sentence where when you read it in the morning, you're gonna be, oh yeah, I know where, and then you finish that sentence and you're back in. Both of you, the questions for both of you, do you have some kind of trick or technique that gets you started the next day so you don't have to drag yourself back to it? This'll get me in.
You leave the back door open.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, definitely like you mentioned, leaving it like Stephen was, I think what Stephen was alluding to is like leaving it on the high end. Like, hey, this is great. I'm doing great. I'm tired. It's, you know, whatever time at night or early morning now. So rather than keep forcing it, let me stop here. So it's that excitement is still there. And something else I would do is kind of like, okay, like certain things take more bandwidth, more types of concentration. Like writing dialogue for me is like, I need to be in a certain mental state to do that. So if I'm not there, I can return to the outline. I can return to the script. I can kind of put the periods in, like, oh, okay, let me do some formatting here, you know, because I need to work on it. But you know, I'm not really feeling like I need to work on the part that needs to get worked on. So let me do some of the other stuff and whittle away at it, make it easier to read. Maybe do research, look up reference images.
Procrastination.
Productive procrastination.
Steve, how about you? How do you get yourself going the next day?
Oh man, it's just I wish I had a shortcut. It's just I go through the motions. That's the best thing I can do. Sometimes,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll look for things. I'll look for things like and that ends up being procrastination or distractions. But sometimes, if I'm smart, I'll probably look at a book, some artwork, but from either of artists I like, my favorite artists, or someone I just ran into. I mean, some artists I ran into. I'll probably do that. But yeah, it's just sometimes days. No, it could be an easy day, it could be a rough day. Sometimes it's just it's an ongoing process for me.
Yeah, well, I had the pleasure of talking to a best-selling novelist, Richard Price, way before he really became. He was just breaking big, and he was very kind because I was just a guy in the audience. But I asked him how he does it. He says, "Listen, he says all this creative stuff. It's really a matter of putting your ass in the seat." And
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because artists ask me how do you get inspired. I said sometimes it's just sitting there and have working for it to come along. It's not gonna always just come along and hit you.
Right.
Especially when we're under deadlines. You gotta not force it, but let it come. But letting it come is working through the tightness. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a sport. It's like you gotta loosen the muscles up
Yeah.
and get moving.
I heard another guy, I forget which author this was. He's like, when the rents due, that's pretty inspiring.
Let us do this just for the sake of timing. We're going to hit a couple of other key points, and then if we have time, we can come back around to some of these wonderful nuances here. But so Ry-El, you wrote this, and you'd been working on the project with others, but here you are working with Stephen. You wrote this, you got to a certain point, and you said, okay, we got to get funding. What made you pick Kickstarter, and how did you strategize that? What was the goal other than the money? What was the goal? What were you aiming for, and how did you decide to use this particular technique?
The goal became the money.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
pay
you
for it.
know,
Yeah.
I made a mistake when I first started publishing, and that mistake was to not do Kickstarters.
Yeah.
You know, I was working a lot and I didn't have the capacity for it. And so I was funding it out of my own pocket. And I published the chapters. And while that was a great experience and, you know, saved me the trauma of doing a Kickstarter, I also wasn't building up my Kickstarter experience, building up my audience through Kickstarter, having that exposure and all the marketing that's necessary for that. So as an indie publisher, doing crowdfunding, I feel like there's a reason like so many people are doing it because it's almost a necessary aspect to indie publishing. And so, you know,
But it's no joke. It's a
it is
lot of
not
work. Can you
not a
explain
joke.
some of that?
So chapter 5, the last chapter, before we put this into let me just pull these out here since I have them. The 5 chapters. Yeah, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So chapter 5, I started a Kickstarter with that one, you know, kind of a lower goal just to get things going. And this Kickstarter for the book one trade, collecting all 5 of those chapters into one book, I took time off work, saved up to be able to invest a lot into the Kickstarter. So when you go to the Kickstarter page, it's nice. It looks nice. It's easy on the eyes. It's laid out in a way that you are pulled into the story. You're learning what's going on. You understand the world, and so I put a lot of time and work into it, maybe too much time and work, actually. And now, the promoting, the pushing it, getting it out there into the world is a whole other beast. And on the other hand, it's inspiring. It's great. I get to connect with you guys. Are awesome. You guys are hilarious. I really appreciate
everything, Ry-El.
I appreciate your feedback coming from you too. So it means a lot. And also, I'm putting myself out there in a way that I haven't really done before. It really just being on social media, reaching out to every single person I know, and just really emphasizing the movement of this comic book. It's a great read. There's a lot of content in it, and it's also more than that. It's also a culture. It represents people out there in the world who are on this path of wanting to help the world help the world become a better place, right? And so that's what's really pushing me and guiding me in this Kickstarter, in this comic book, and meeting with you guys.
There's another experience that I had that your book, when I looked at it, made me go, oh, wow, yeah. And I think Chris will get this because it's the universe talking to us. Just this past weekend, we put up a revisit episode of our show because Chris was inundated with things, I was inundated with things, and we really couldn't put the quality time into doing an episode. So we said, let's take one of the better episodes
here in this episode.
Yeah, one of the better episodes and bring it back again. And it was the Ryan Coogler Sinners episode. And the reason why I said this is very synchronistic, this is the universe going, oh, that was the appetizer for this, is because in Ryan's film, there is that multicultural component that is so well woven into the telling of that tale. You have not only the African American aspect of it, but you have the Chinese, and you have the African aspect, which comes in that musical number. But you also have the Native American. And then you have the Irish. It's basically saying this is the world. This is a good representation of a portion of the world. The world is this varied, this diverse. And at times we weave together constructively and at other times destructively. But this is the concept. We are not just one thing. And I think that's another thing that your book does very well.
I mean,
and it's
Indigo Clan,
visuals.
there's Cubano, there's Jamaican, there's African, there's Native American, South American. There's so many different cultures, and then spiritualities, and then traditions. There's so many things in there. Like you mentioned, dragons on top of astral projection, on top of seances, on top of chakra. It's so rich in culture and so well visually represented that people should go to your Kickstarter and they should look at all the different stuff that's on there and see what they can do to participate in this, because it's so rich. Where would they go on Kickstarter to find, Stephen and Ry, your Indigo
Your
Clan
particular
page?
project, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just on Kickstarter, you can search Indigo Clan. It'll pop up. Indigo Clan Book 1 Trade Collection, I believe it's called. And yeah, Indigo Clan will bring it right up. Also, our social medias, Indigo_Clan_comic on Instagram. And Steven is, I don't have yours memorized.
Oh, my Instagram is Stephen Harris. I'm always posting about that. And the link to the Kickstarter is in both our bios.
There you go.
On Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're on Facebook, Twitter.
And how much longer do we have?
Yeah, till tomorrow. Yeah, till tomorrow.
Is that right?
No,
November 7th.
I'm going, wait a minute.
I freaked out. Steve, you got me on that. I freaked out.
I'm thinking, wait, I thought it was November. What?
Yeah.
You're a wicked man, Stephen. What's the
Yeah,
actual date?
November 7th.
7th. So we have, yes.
Hmm.
So actually, folks, go now and then go again.
Yeah.
Get some of your friends to go after that,
And there's one other, Stephen, you made a passing reference to the outside world and to current events. And it's another reason I was very, very grateful to you, because current events have really gotten to me.
Yeah.
I sat down to read this because it was part of my job. I had to get ready for this interview. But what it did was it took me away completely. And in a way where you're gently reminded of how much more there is to the world. We can go down those rabbit holes of social media or doom scrolling or whatever, and then you open this up and there's danger and there's tension and all the storytelling aspects, but there is a wonder and there is a spiritual and a faith all the way through that wash that away for a while. And I think a lot of people need that these days. So you're doing multi-level great work and the larger community service with this book. So thank you both for that.
I just realized we broke an editorial rule, and I think it was Archie Goodwin or Denny O'Neil, who both noted legends in comic book editorial realms. But one of them said that, regarding Batman, that every time somewhere in the world someone is reading Batman for the first time,
right,
and so some aspect of the story that they're reading should give them some sense of who is this guy. And I realized that we have had this wonderful conversation about this project, and at no time did we actually say what the story was about. So can you give just a little tease, a little not bio, a little, like a back cover description? What's the story about?
Yeah, so Indigo Clan is a story about Deva, who is a young Black girl from Oakland, California, and she has natural mystic abilities like seeing auras, chakras, and this leads her to be able to also see reptoids, which are reptilian demons that possess people, especially people in authority. And the reptoids try to capture Deva because they can see that she can see them. And the Indigo Clan comes to save her from the reptoids. They train her how to use her powers, and they go on a mission to find other Indigos, which are folks who have these abilities. And they travel the world on a mission to activate Earth's sacred energy.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that. See, if we had said this earlier, folks, you'd have been already at the Kickstarter.
Well, Alex, you've always told me to save something special for the end of the episode.
And the spiel I give at shows is a little more what I say at the shows is a metaphysical martial arts action adventure featuring a group of young people fighting an ancient evil using their powers based off their spiritual beliefs and their culture. But I gotta add Diva because she is a central character in there.
Yeah. Both of those are really wonderful descriptions of what I've been so effusively praising.
I can hear that announcer going, in a world where metaphysical. Again, those two pitches, those two descriptions give really delectable reasons for wanting to check out these books, because there is the spirituality, there is a quest, there is a young person in danger, there's saving lives and saving the world and making the world better. There is action, there is adventure, there's this conflict. So there's all of that woven into this one series. And that's great. And then again, we've often commented throughout this episode, visually, it's very stimulating.
Yeah.
So no matter how you look at this, is a good project. It's a really, really good project.
Alex, you can replay those 2 pitches to your film classes because they were really, really well done elevator pitches,
Yeah.
where you had to use like 25 words or less to hook people in for the sale or to, oh, I want to read that book. And excellently well done. So
Well, yeah, but I'm
my
going to make it even
compliments,
harder.
students.
I'm,
Go ahead, you try it now.
I'm going to make it harder for him and say, what's the log line? Because, log line, you got 25 to 50 words, but it's like 1 to 2 sentences. How do you sell it? And I often talk about the formula for a log line. It's character, conflict, cliffhanger. It's my
All of
3
it covered.
C's.
All of
Yep,
it was covered. Yep.
yep,
Excellent.
yep, yep.
So let's see. Is there anything, Stephen? Is there anything, Ry-El, that we haven't covered yet that you feel like we need to cover before we bring this to a conclusion?
Well, like I said, with the tagline, I mean, I have to give credit to my again to the late Robert Garrett, because he always always had a story or a pitch to tell for each of his books, and so
Right.
I use that to do that, because I have like 5 different books on the table, and I gotta
Right.
give quick pitches, and still I get tired, even though they're quick, but I get tired
Oh, yeah.
seeing all these pictures for all these books I have on the table. But yeah, because I know we were at a convention, a comic convention. We were sitting next to a guy who just didn't know how to do that, and he was just like giving a long diatribe of his book and showing people, and it was different one every time, and it was boring. It was not only boring, it was annoying. And we had to
Right.
sit next to him at the New York Comic Con back in 2011, and so every time somebody came by, he's telling the story, he would focus on one part and then focus on another part, and just give a long diatribe of this book he was doing. So that's who I give credit to when I give the little spiel to.
Chris and I
Keep
met
it short.
somebody
Keep it
at a
short.
Comic-Con some years ago, back in our early team up, who did a really wonderful graphic novel. So a really nice little story drawn, all of that, but sat at his table with a look like, if you come near me, I'm going to bite your fingers off. you know, and then wondered why no one was coming to his table to
Yeah.
check out his book. So at a certain point, we would jump in and go, hey, you got to check out his book. We would do the rah-rah for him. And we kept telling him, get somebody with, who's got that personality to pitch your book. And you just sit back and just chill and just let them do that, because right now you're driving stuff away,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, again, creating a project, no matter how
Mhm.
good it is one step in getting it out there to the world. And I think one of the things that you folks have commented on is not only being focused on turning out a quality project, but then taking the time to understand how to market it,
Yeah.
how to
Finance it
say
with
these things,
Kickstarter. Yeah.
how to bring the right attention to it, and how to sustain that. Because that's obviously you had to do it with your Kickstarter. And when you're at events with the book, you have to be
Mhm.
able to pitch. And you, Stephen, Ry-El, I don't know how many conventions you've done, but I've known Stephen for decades. And we've done ECBOC and the New York Comic Con and San Diego. You get hundreds of people coming at you
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah.
You got to have your thing down, because otherwise, yes, it does become. And the book is really great, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. It's
Well,
a ton of work to create a story that layered, that just infused with ideas, and that organic, and then equally great work to make it visually captivating, and both things working together to bring the reader happily and fully engaged through the story. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta check out Indigo Clan. Gotta go to Kickstarter, see what you can do. Ry-El, you had your finger up, you got something?
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
for it.
right. Yeah.
yeah. On the subject of Kickstarter, on the subject of people who want to create their own projects, and understanding that you have a lot of viewers who are also aspiring creators, authors, artists. On our Kickstarter, we have a tier that's special for these folks, because it's a consultation. It's an offering of a consultation with Stephen Harris and myself, 1 hour call, Zoom call with each of us, offering guidance, experience, lessons, connections, consultation around the project, around, you know, a person's project, to really help them to bring it to the next level, to get it out there into the world, to get it done, right? To have the connections to network in the best way, to know how to do the vending, the Comic Cons, or, you know, the publishing, the printing, you know, all these different things. So it's a really special offering. Stephen has connected me with Joseph Illidge, who's the editor for the trade collection. You know, Walt Barna, like Stephen worked with him. He brought Walt Barna on. What's the And World design? Devin?
I don't know Devin, but I know Duran.
Duran, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Duran from And World Design, who's a super professional letterer, super professional to work with, also does design work. You know, Sherrard Jackson did the letters for chapter 2. So just even this in this conversation with then Stephen Harris, like, you might need one of these people that Stephen knows as well. And so this is a great opportunity to really, like I said, level up your project, publish your work, get it out there, know how to do it, have the confidence and tools you need. And then, you know, obviously with myself as an indie publisher for 8 years, publishing these 5 chapters, as well as a side story called Karast Warrior Priesthood. And, you know, having done these Kickstarters, so that's included. And also another bonus included an energy work session with myself, doing a similar type of energy therapy that I did to be able to manifest this work into reality. So helping people to clear obstacles, energetic obstacles, clearing chakras, clearing traumas, past lives, ancestral DNA things that are preventing them from activating their highest purpose.
Wow.
And it's great too, because all of that, what you're offering and what you're saying, connects to who you are, you know, and who you presented yourself to be at the very beginning, also reflects the story in Indigo Clan. So it's very holistic. It's extremely holistic. Yeah.
Alex, we would be remiss, Alex.
Would
I'm
we?
sorry. Go ahead, Ry-El.
I was just going to say, you know, it's something we didn't really mention, all these things that Indigo Clan is. It's also healing.
Yeah.
You know, the characters are healing. When you read it, you can feel the healing. It's a healing for the planet. And also with this tier that I mentioned, you also get the hoodie.
Oh, you get the hoodie too.
It has a
about to
symbol
bring that up.
here.
Yep.
The symbol represents the Indigo Clan, represents 4 elements, third eye, the eye of I am. A lot of things. We break it down on a Kickstarter. So it's a symbol for protection, guidance in your life. Yeah. So sorry, what were you saying though?
No, that's exactly where I was leading. I was leading to the hoodie. So see that?
Yeah.
Well done. Right here,
activated.
Right there, right there. We're gonna put again links to the Kickstarter. We're gonna put links to your social media connections and all that. And
Alex,
once again, though, we will say that the Kickstarter ends on November what?
7th.
Okay, so this episode will go up next week, so it'll be up for at least a week or two before that. But folks, the moment you hear this, hit the keyboards. Okay, just go, please do that. I've already done it. Thank you very much. I can say that from my position of I've already done mine. You do yours, right? Okay. But I think it's really great what you're offering. I think what you've accomplished is great. It's always good to see Steve. It's wonderful to meet you, Ry-El. I look forward to talking with you more. And for those who are unfortunately only listening to the podcast, you don't get to see all this cool artwork that's behind both of them. So find us on YouTube.
Social media,
yeah, find us on YouTube so you can see this, because it's visually just, this is a joy. It's like almost like looking at stained glass. You know, it's like so much color there. It's great. Okay,
Chris, except for me and Alex, we look like we're in black and white.
We look like what we are. We're solid. Okay, but Chris, what do you want folks to do?
Well, I think after seeing this or experiencing this conversation, if you don't hit the like and subscribe, it says something about you personally, is what I'm saying. So please do that. Get your chakra right. Come on, hit the like and subscribe. There we go.
Okay, Stephen, look forward to seeing you again many more times. Ry-El, I look forward to talking with you more and learning more about what you do and what you will be doing. I wish you absolute success with your Kickstarter and whatever other projects you go forth with. Chris,
check out
as
Indigo
always,
Clan
joy.
on Kickstarter. Go
Yep.
check out the book. It's great. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Alex, peace to you, my brother.
Yes, absolutely. Live long and prosper. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.